When I first went to college, I majored in pre-law, of all things. Mainly because I really liked a show called The Defenders that was on, it was about lawyers. I have sketches from when I was 4. And I've always done it totally on my own. My parents let me draw whatever I want, whenever I want. And I think that really helped me because I had no rules. I just did what I wanted to, you know. I started drawing insulting pictures of my sisters. That's when I started looking at people and drawing them and thinking about their personalities and how to capture them and make fun of them. When I went to school, I never took any art classes. We had a choice between an art elective or a music elective. And I was in the band. My dad drilled it into me. You need to find something to do to make money, to be a wage earner, that kind of thing. And drawing silly drawings is not going to do that. Predictably, I flunked out after the first year because I'm not a lawyer. I had a terrible confrontation with my dad about that, but that was really helpful to break that out and to realize now I can go do what I want to do because I've tried that and it failed. It happened that I got a draft notice within days of having been kicked out of college, and this was during Vietnam. And so what can I join that's least dangerous? And I joined the Air Force. 4 years in the Air Force was just a calm, nothing thing, but was what I needed to sort out where I wanted to go, where I was going. And plus, I got to go to school on the GI Bill after that. And I went back to school and majored in art, and the rest is history. I lived out in Ohio, Columbus, and I graduated from college, and my brother-in-law was here in Norfolk, and this was in like December. Ohio in December is just gloomy and cold and gray. And he wrote to me and he says, "It's sunny here. It's December and the sun is shining." And I said, "Okay, well, we'll move there." I had no plan. I had a portfolio that I had gathered together. And a local architecture firm, Gay, Marshall and Macmillan, were looking for somebody to do publications for them, and I knew I can do that. So I joined them, and I put out their government documents and things like that. But also, they wanted me to be the liaison with the print shop. And so I spent a lot of time down there learning how that worked and everything. And I actually printed a book of my cartoons that I had drawn in the last several years. How to pick up girls in paper hats. I did this. And I printed this by hand. You know, I shot them on the stat camera and I printed it. And Bill Candler, who was the editor of Portfolio magazine at the time, got a copy of it, and he ran a little spread in Portfolio magazine about it. And he told me to leave an address so people could order it. One of the people who ordered it, it turns out, was Pat Boone. He was in town, and he saw that, and I imagined he got a copy so he could hold it up and say, "Look, this is what the young people are coming to these days." Years later, some friends of mine were living out in California, found a copy of my book at the yard sale and bought it, of course. And it turns out Pat Boone lived near the town where the yard sale was. I got Pat Boone's copy back. That is the strangest anecdote I can think of telling.
That's wild.
I had gotten a job up at WHRO, working on the Dimensions magazine, just doing paste up. And get out. My wife got a job with the ad agency down the street, Lawler Ballard, as a messenger. And so I came and hang out with her a few times, got to meet some of the people, and the guy who ran the AV department hired me, and I said, okay, sure. And then I graduated to the creative department, and I started doing commercials and ads with them as a part of the creative team. I found I had kind of an aptitude for that, especially for humorous stuff. And the pay was better than any I'd ever gotten doing other stuff. I had a career in advertising for several years. Even though I look back on it, and I think that wasn't a very useful thing to do to society. But it was fun, you know, we basically sat around thinking of funny commercials to do. Right. Advertising wasn't that big a deal for me. And I started getting more and more freelance work of doing fun stuff for me. Working on my own, not having to go to an office was liberating, you know. I could stop what I was doing anytime during the day and go have a cup of coffee somewhere. You know, I wasn't stuck somewhere, and that was nice. The editorial page editor of the paper, he saw my work and he had the idea of having me do almost a whole page in the editorial section of just whatever topics around the area I wanted to, and that was great. You know, I'd go draw the beach, cover Obama. He came to Newport News, and I'd do a whole bunch of pictures about that. And I did that for a couple of years, and then they decided they couldn't afford that, and they asked me if I wanted to do editorial cartoons. I had never done them before, but I said, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. And then for several years I did those. And boy, I got some nasty letters to the editor too. That's a bonus. I really liked that. I like annoying people as much as pleasing people. '11 is when they started. I was there the first day, and I've been there just about every day since. That's more, in many ways, that's more like my home than this house is. That's where I hang out, and that's where my friends are, and that's where I eat and drink. I'm very lucky to have this place open up right across the street from me. It's endlessly fascinating for me to see. There's certain things that attract me to that subject. Yeah. Their gestures, their attitudes, and the way they hold their hands or something attracts me, or their hair, you know, just beautiful African-American women with wonderful hair that I just can draw forever. I'm not a kind of person who plans ahead. The idea of doing finances and taking care of my future financially, it just is too much. I just live from day to day. I want to find a way to enjoy whatever it is I'm thrown into doing. I have my sketch stuff with me all the time, and some days I won't feel like doing it, but most days I do.
Finishing something, how does that make you feel?
Finishing a piece?
Yeah, like no matter what it is, like when you're done with a drawing, at what point of the process do you feel like you have the most attachment to whatever it is that you're doing?
I don't feel like there's an end to it.
Yeah.
When I do a drawing and it's good, I just like it forever after that. I don't know what, I don't lose my interest in it.
Gotcha.
Unless it's a piece of shit. I feel incredibly lucky because I'm doing exactly the same stuff I did before the pandemic. I sit down at my computer and I draw pictures. I go over to Stella's and I draw pictures. And I live on my Social Security, so I'm not having financial problems. So life is pretty much the same for me. I have started another animation, and I'm working off and on that. And then I get little jobs, little things here and there, and then I just draw for my own pleasure too. I have been compelled to do it since I was like 4 years old, and it's picking up a pencil and making marks has just been like eating food or breathing or something. I mean, obviously, I enjoy the results of drawing, and I like people complimenting it, but even if nobody else ever saw my drawings, I would have to make marks on paper somehow. I don't know why that is. That's something I just do all by myself. I haven't even tried to analyze why I do it. When there's nothing else going on, that's what I think of doing. Where's my pencil? I want to draw. I have always done it my whole life. It's just what I do.